This is famous Kalbelia folk dancer Gulabo Sapera. She is receiving one of the highest civilian honors in India from the President of India in this picture. And Sapera means a snake charmer, so she had a very, very poor beginning, being daughter of a snake charmer. Of course, this is not Gulabo's father. That was just me with another snake charmer. So anyways, so Gulabo's group has performed in over 90 countries, including in the United States at the Kennedy Center. And as I told you, she's very popular and well accomplished. But behind all this success, her beginning, her humble beginning, as I said, also had a sad part to it that I'm going to take up. But first, let me let Gulabo finish.
Thank you.
So after birth, Gulabo was buried alive because her parents had too many children, and that was, and as you can see in this Wall Street Journal article, that is still a problem, even though it's improving. As you can see, this professor has 4 daughters, and I know a lot of people who have 4 daughters, but still, as you can see, that in India and China, if China is still, the problem persists. And so what we will do is this, and here is pictures from states of Haryana and Punjab in India, where the problem is more persistent. So anyways, we are going to take up binomial probability calculations in this context. And I must tell you that Gulabo was almost immediately rescued from being buried by her mother and aunt. But not all the girls are that lucky, because many of those pregnancies are terminated by use of ultrasound sonography, by determining the gender of the newborn. And the problem became so rampant that India had to enact an act in which it outlawed the use of these diagnostic devices for the determination of gender of a fetus. And you do hear about the implementation of the act in the newspapers. So let's go towards the numbers here. Okay, so if we look for the gender ratio, and this is one reliable source, our world in data, then what you shall see is this here in this, according to this website, is that the gender ratio at birth is around 105 boys per 100 girls. Now, I could not find any data for, that could be used for convictions, and we can see that the conviction rates are very low. And then even this article from a reputed journal that shows data, of course, not the prosecutions, just the weakness of the prosecution. But in here, you can see that in some districts, in 2004, there were 762 girls for 1,000 boys, much lower than what we could see from the international trend. And as you can see in the map right here, that for the children from 0 to 6 years of age, for the state of Punjab, the rate is, again, very low, for about at the most 800 girls to every 1,000 boys. All right. So let us just make up a story here. Say there is a maternity hospital, and I'm working for the law enforcement, and then I have suspicion that some activity of determining the gender of a fetus is going on here in this hospital, and the hospital is under my watch. So say there are 200 newborns at this place. All right. And we assume that the girl to boys ratio should be 100 to 105, or let's just give them benefit of doubt and say it's 100 to 107 according to our World in Data website. Then what kind of birth ratio, gender ratio will create a suspicion in my mind? So for that calculation, what we will have is that we are going to treat these 200 as 200 independent events. Okay, that is that there are 200 people, and the gender of their children is independent of the gender of any other parent's children, and the probability that any of the newborn is going to be a girl is going to be how much? 100 over 207, because the total number of 100 is girls and 207 is the total number of births. So let's call that a newborn is a girl, that event as a success. Okay, so what we will do is we can go ahead and calculate the probabilities, including, as I said, our binomial probability calculations of how many of the number of the newborns being girls out of these 200 births that we are looking at. All right, so we are going to use a spreadsheet. Well, actually one of the most commonly used spreadsheets, that is called Excel, for these calculations. So here is a spreadsheet familiar to most of you, and what we are going to do is that we are going to look at the probability of number of girls among how many? 200 newborns. So let's just go ahead and put 0 to 200, those numbers in here. Okay, and here is our 200. And then what we are going to do is let's calculate the probability, or let's put the probabilities in this column. What we mean is that out of 200, here we will put the probability of 0 girls, here 1 girl, 2 girl, etc., etc. So what we can do is that this paste function will let us do the calculations, and you can find this binomial distribution from Excel. So we got binomial distribution and number of successes. Well, we want to compute it for all these values, so we'll keep that as a variable. So it's I just clicked on this cell, okay, and that brought it in here, and we are looking at how many? 200 girls, and you can see it's just showing us here what we are entering in here, and the probability of a girl is how much? 100 over 207, and I am going to put false here for cumulative, because cumulative is everything adding up to that point. So it will give us the probability that there will be no girl amongst those 200 births, and you can see that probability is very minuscule. That is 4.8 times 10 to the negative 58, or 0 point, how many? 57 zeros, and then 481. So of course, so that's like almost out of question. So here what do we see? That probability of 1 girl out of 200 is slightly higher, and that's how these are going up. And you can see this here if you want. You can go ahead and make a chart of these. Just insert, and let's go to chart, and here is so what we got here is this, that Well, the likely number of girls, I mean, you can see it goes like this. The highest is the highest probability is point. You can read it in here. I can enlarge it for you, but just hover on it and you shall see, like for 97 out of 207 being girls, the probability is 0.057. Okay, and but again, on this we cannot go after somebody for an exact number. A good way to look at that will be the cumulative probability, and anyway you can read these probabilities and make a decision. So what we are going to do is that we are going to look at the cumulative probabilities. That is, here, of course, here probability and cumulative probability will be the same. That is, whether I'm looking for 0 girls or 0 or less girls, it's not going to make any difference. But for the others, it will. So again, the trials is 200 and our probability is 100 over 207. And here I'm now going to put true. So what that does for me is, okay, let me put this in the center. Okay, so what this does is, you can see it's the same number again, but later on the numbers will change. So here, this probability is the probability that the number of girls will be 1 or less. Like here, this is the probability that the number of girls among the 200 newborns will be less than how much? Will be 7 or less. So that is like point, then 45 zeros, then 712. And instead of looking at it like this, we may do this here. That is, just go ahead and make a plot again of these two. So what I will do is this. Let's just go ahead and remove this column for a moment, and then we can go and look at the chart. All right, so here is a chart of the cumulative probabilities, and here you can see what the cutoff can be. So like say here at that clinic, we found out that 92 of the 200 newborns were girls. So you can read right in here is this, that is the probability of that is about 0.28. Well, 0.28 is not that small a probability, but say it so happens, say right here, that they have 84 out of 200 newborns as girls. So there the probability is only 0.043, which may be considered as small by many views. Or say we go just a little further right here, say there are only, for instance, 80 girls there. So the probability, as you can read, is 0.011 approximately. And so likewise, you can just go ahead and look at the probabilities for the number of girls being lower and lower, and then determining according to, taking all the other factors. As I said, I'm not in law enforcement or in prosecution, that, what will really give you a probable cause to investigate according to probabilities and make up your mind. All right.